The war on Iran has sparked global concerns. Oil prices are up, Gulf nations are facing attacks, and end of war remains uncertain. Where does the war on Iran stand as we move beyond 2 weeks of constant attacks and counterattacks? Here's a report.
The war has entered its third week. Pentagon and Israeli forces say they have targeted and dismantled over 15,000 Iranian targets. Iran, not ready to surrender, is using ballistic missiles, weighing heavy as 2 tons, putting Gulf region in the crosshairs, not relenting. U.S. claims to have complete control over Iranian skies while the Strait of Hormuz waters are still being dominated by Iran. Tehran is now focusing on sustained military strikes. The volume of attacks have came down, but the threat of fresh attacks looms continuously. Iran is increasingly relying on cluster bombs to attack Israel. These munitions are difficult to intercept as the missile ejects smaller submunitions before hitting the ground. The war so far has been focused on aerial and naval assaults, causing damage across Gulf countries. Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, says Gulf nation must shut U.S. bases or be ready to face attacks. Since the beginning of war, Bahrain has intercepted 125 missiles and 203 drones. UAE has intercepted over 294 ballistic missiles and 1,600 drones. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, along with Kuwait, Oman, and Iraq are also facing daily attacks. In the latest, Iran has targeted U.S. base in Saudi Arabia's Al-Kharj. UAE's Fujairah oil facility also caught fire, and loud explosions were heard in Bahrain's Manama. Gulf nations are faced with a difficult choice: loose out on American security umbrella or keep catching Iranian missiles and drones. They have so far remained cautious in joining offense against Iran, but Tehran vows it has ample evidence to prove that U.S. bases in Gulf are being used by U.S. to conduct attacks. The latest Iranian salvo comes after U.S. forces hit Iran's Karg Island, which is a key artery of Iran's oil trade. Iran claims that attack on Karg was carried out from UAE, and it will further escalate the scope of retaliation. Iran says it will hit any energy infrastructure in the region which belongs to any American company. This is not the first time Iran has vowed a tat-for-tat action. It threatened to hit U.S. banks in the Gulf after strikes hit its banking facility in Tehran. As war continues to rage, the battle of words is also intensifying. Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Secretary Ali Larijani, has opened a fresh front on social media. After Pentagon chief labeled Iranian leaders as rats, Larijani has accused a 9/11-like plot being planned by what he called remnants of Epstein's team. Diplomatic efforts to script end of this war also remain sketchy. Donald Trump says Iran is ready to make a deal, but the deal is not the one that he would be ready to accept. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said that no specific initiative has been proposed to end the war, but at the same time he said Iran welcomes any regional initiative that leads to a just end to the war.
Joining us from New York is Mr. Adrian Calamel. He's a fellow at Arabian Peninsula Institute, terrorism and Middle Eastern scholar, and also the author of the forthcoming book on Hezbollah. Mr. Calamel, it's good to see you after a long time. Thank you very much for making time for us. Now that you are an author of the revered group in Lebanon, that is Hezbollah, let's start from there. Do you actually think that Israel will be able to obliterate Hezbollah?
Well, good evening to you, Eric, and that's a really good question. It's a difficult one. We have to look at what's happened to Hezbollah over the last 2 years. This is just this could be the final coup de grace for Hezbollah. Are we going to see a 1982 Israel operation that's like the Operation Wrath of Galilee, where they go all the way to Beirut and push Yasser Arafat out of the country? I don't know if that's possible. What we have to understand is that Hezbollah has been, they've really taken over the state apparatus since and run the country and been the real power broker in the country since the late 89, 1990, 91, right around there. They have taken a lot of losses over the last couple of years. There's no doubt about that. So military strength, one, is down. Personnel, they've been decimated from their lower ranks all the way up to their leadership structure. So I think Israel may be seeing an opportunity to finally, put the nail in the coffin on Hezbollah and save these, in order to give the Islamic Republic has to go because they are the primary funder to the tune of about $700 million a year. But we'll see. Unfortunately, the Lebanese people. I will say there's a lot of things working against Hezbollah in their own country. The people are turning on them. Their own co-religionists and Shia are turning on them. The government wants to disarm them, so it's looking very tenuous for them at this point.
Mr. Calamel, the war is escalating, or the situation is escalating in West Asia. President Trump has not given a timeline on when the war will end. He's giving conflicting statements for the past 2 weeks now. The war is entering the third week, and now Iran is remaining defiant and using cluster munitions in its attacks on the Gulf countries and also on Israel. Using of cluster munitions in this war, how does that complicate matters?
It complicates it to a certain degree, but what I think it tells us is that the Islamic Republic is, one, either running out of ballistic missiles, which is a very distinct possibility, two, running out of launchers, and three, the ballistic missiles need missile fuel, solid fuel to project them, and the Islamic Republic was reliant upon China. So I think this could tell us that the regime is running low on ballistic missiles and wants to use maximum damage with cluster munitions. And I think that's where we're starting to look at the drones and shift to the drones. And that's where the regime is causing the most amount of havoc, I would say, is with their drone use. The ballistic missiles, yeah, they still are a concern, but it's diminishing.
Mr. Calamel, let's try and demystify the statements that are being made by U.S. officials, and one of them is the U.S. Energy Secretary. He just gave a statement or an interview to a broadcaster in the United States. He says he expects the U.S. war with Iran to end within the next few weeks, with oil supplies rebounding and energy costs declining afterwards. His statements, your reaction?
Interesting. I don't like putting timelines on things. I think this is objective based. And if you look at the objectives, there's been a couple of things, and you've highlighted it, Karg Island. This is the Islamic Republic's main artery for shipping oil to China. This handicaps them. This is maximum pressure with kinetic action. And then their ability to control the Strait of Hormuz. They can't control it. They can try and shut it down. They're causing problems there. And then I look at the target packages on the ground. I've seen besieged bases, individual checkpoints, not bases, 1, 2, 3 individuals, just individual cells being targeted, which is opening things up for the people. So there's two campaigns going on here. There's an actual military campaign, and then there's a campaign in the media, social media, what have you. And in the social media, it looks like the Islamic Republic is doing fine and they're going to be defiant, but really they are on the ropes and they're flailing. And last night we saw I saw people pouring on the streets in Tehran and some other large cities in the Islamic Republic. And that's one of the factors that people seem to be neglecting, is that, or forgetting, is that we're not getting any video really out of the Islamic Republic. And the people there have been told to stay in their houses, but now they're going to start trickling out. So we see battle damage assessments in Kuwait or Bahrain or Israel, but we don't see them inside Iran unless CENTCOM is putting them out, or the regime is trying to use them for propaganda purposes. So they're trying to suppress the mobilization of people. And Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi put a message out to people in Iran, specifically to one group, is, now's the time to rise up. So I think we're going to start to see people rise up as the security apparatus is diminished and taken away.
All right. Mr. Adrian Calamel, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.
Thank you, Eric.